Okay, we're live on YouTube. We're live on Instagram. Cool. Live. Let me put on the flippy filter. Like so. Yeah. Okay, so welcome. We are here today brewing our third cup of coffee with these beans over here. And I'm actually kind of excited because we're getting slowly closer and closer to a better cup of coffee. And initially, I didn't have a lot of expectations for these beans, but they are kind of pleasantly surprising me. So hopefully with some extra extraction, going further and deeper into these beans will be something that we can achieve today. So what are we going to brew with today as the variables? Well, from yesterday, the one thing that we changed was the grind size. So it was a bit on the under-extracted range, and it had a bit of potential to open up and be a bit better, which I realized after adding a dash of water. So we need to extract a bit more from the coffee. And to achieve that, we're going from a 27 grind size yesterday to 25 today. So today's recipe is a 1:17 brewing ratio, a dose of 15, grind size of 25, and a water dose of 255, and a boiling water temp. So let's see how this goes. Now, if you have any questions ever, just feel free to ask those in the comment sections, and I'll try to get to you whenever. Let's move the cameras down, like so, and like so. Cool. And we'll bring this up. Like so. Nice. Perfecto. Okay, so let's begin with grinding our beans. And to grind them, we need to measure them. I'm gonna add a bit more grinds because since I'm changing grind size, I'm gonna purge a bit of the grinds out, toss that out, and then grind my dose fully. So I have 16 grams of coffee over here. Like so. And we change our grind size, so from 27 to 25. Toss that out, and then grind the remaining. Like so. 14.9. And 15.1. Love getting it on the dot. 15. There we go. Okay, so here we got our grinds. Looking stellar. Shake that out. Smell that. Okay, so let's get our boiling water and begin. We got our boiling water. We have our cup that we want to brew in. We have our Hario V60. We got our fabric filter, and we'll preheat. Like so. We'll toss that liquid out. Like so. We tare, toss in our grinds. Tare again, bring it over to the timer. Shake this out, make a small hole. And just to remind you of the method again, we're gonna pour 40 grams in, and then we're gonna swirl the Hario V60 vigorously to saturate everything instead of stirring. And then we're gonna pour liquid all the way up to 255 grams of water. And then we're gonna use a spoon to swirl the liquid back and forth to bring the grinds down from the sides. And then when the liquid is halfway, we're gonna give it a last Scott Rowe swirl. So let's begin. Start the timer, like so. Pour 40 grams of water, like so. Now it's fully saturated. It looks very nice and even. And then continue pouring all the way up at 30 to 255 grams of water. And we're aiming to pour pretty fast. Like so, 255. Now we take a spoon, we go clockwise, counterclockwise, clockwise, counterclockwise, like so. Then we let that drain for just a bit more, where it's around halfway, and then we'll give it another swirl. So doing the spoon technique brings the grinds down from the really high ledges of the brewer, and doing the swirl makes it so that the coffee bed is extremely level and even. So it's a lot of small techniques here and there that really help just extraction and making it consistent. So at this point, I give it the swirl, like so. And then we just wait. It's looking pretty good. So as you can tell, it's nice and sunny today compared to yesterday. Really excited because I'm meeting another coffee buddy of mine later in this afternoon, just to chat and catch up. And then I wove in maybe a high school meetup with a buddy. So just getting all of my social meetups done in a very specific period of the afternoon today, which is great. Okay, so it's still slowly draining. The time right now is 3 minutes and 10 seconds, and it's about to be finished. So there. So around 3 minutes and 20 seconds is our brew time with the slightly finer grind size. So coffee bed looks nice and flat. No grinds up top. I don't know if you guys can see it. Let's see. Here we go. That's a bit better for you peeps. And then over here, I need to like catch the sun. But overall, really nice and even. Looking good. Hopefully the coffee tastes as good as the bed looks, because that would be amazing. We give our coffee a stir. And now we wait. Okay, let's bring you peeps up again. Like so. And like so. Okay, got our coffee. It's a bit too hot right now, so as always, I'm gonna let it cool down a bit and do its thing. So one thing that keeps on surprising me with these beans is that even though I've like not gotten any like amazing cups from it yet, from my understanding of social media and what I've seen people post about it, it seems like a lot of people are raving a lot about this bean over here. So I'm hoping that I eventually will get to that point where I will see their allure and what they're getting out of it, because at this very moment, it's not blowing my mind, and I want it to blow my mind. So I need to explore a bit more and see what I can get out of it. And I think we're getting to a good place, but I have a feeling we still need to tweak the recipe more down the road, because after adding that dash of water yesterday, it became better, but it wasn't like mind-blowing either. It was just more balanced and a bit more pleasant and enjoyable. And for a bean that is like such light roasted and a naturally washed one, which means that it should have a lot of its funk and acidity and interest in there, I think that there is more potential in these beans that can be, and again, extracted. So we need to play around more. We need to find out what other people are tasting, or maybe we need to just find our own delicious brew, or maybe we won't find it at all. Who knows? But for now, let's try the cup of coffee that is in front of us, which is this one. Cheers. Okay, so in this one, it kind of has lost the silkiness that I was getting in yesterday's brew, but it has more interesting flavors going on. So the tastes that I'm getting are a bit more defined, and like what I'm getting is kind of like that nutty roastiness and just slight like raspiness too. So it might be a bit over extracted, but it also might just be the quality of the coffee that I'm getting and those tastes that are coming through. So whenever I need to take multiple sips and really figure out what's happening, either it's so complex that I need to take my time and kind of like filter down what I am tasting and really understand what's there, or it's really hard to pinpoint any specific thing because I can't find anything from the sips. And this is for sure the latter part over here. So it's not so complex and intense that I need to like take my time to formulate my words. It's more about it being hard to find things that are like amazing and easy to latch onto as I am sipping this cup of coffee. So for example, with the candied beans that we were brewing, this was easy to latch on to be like, okay, berry juiciness, has a great mouthfeel, kind of sweet, and has a lot of like positive qualities and tastes in it. While this one over here, the Colombian, is a bit more nuanced and hard to pinpoint. And I think that we still need to play around a bit more to really get it to a good range, because right now it's not really shining. It's not really doing its thing. Like the silkiness that I had yesterday was actually something that I would prefer more than the tastes that I'm getting in today's cup. So I would say this one is, even though it's more balanced and neutral and non-intrusive, yesterday's cup was a bit more interesting because it had that interesting mouthfeel and texture. That acidity that came from the slight under extraction was, in my opinion, adding to the cup. So maybe it wasn't really under extracted. It was more just the acidity that was giving a positive quality to the cup in yesterday's brew. So this one might be balanced, but it's not really that amazing or delicious. It's drinkable. It's a pretty decent cup, but I am still expecting more from these beans. It's kind of like when you have a kid and you have all of these expectations that they should be amazing at X, Y, and Z, but when they do it, it's like, didn't turn out that well. Sometimes you just gotta let it pan out and see what happens. And I think that this cup over here is for sure one of those scenarios where I just need to let it do its thing, and I need to explore different avenues to see what type of potential it has. Toss them into like some extracurricular activities here and there, see what sticks and what really interests them, or in this case, the cup and the beans. So as it's cooling down, it is getting a bit better for sure, but still not like blowing my mind. So going back to this recipe over here, let's just jot down what we're tasting and what our extraction level is and what our taste is. So in my opinion, this extraction is pretty balanced. It might be slightly over extracted, but I think that it's overall pretty balanced. For taste wise, it's around the mid range. So it's like not amazing, not like bad and meh. It's like, okay. So I would say a bit worse than yesterday's actually. So somewhere around here. I think yesterday's was a bit higher than the center. So pretty nicely stacked up, but that's not the goal. But what are we gonna do? What do we need to change? So as I'm looking at the coffee bed, I think that the change in grind size made it a bit too fine. Like I can see the coffee bed being kind of muddy. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to change two things at the same time so that we can kind of get the same balanced cup, but with a coarser grind size. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bump my grind size back up again. So we're going to bump it back up to 27. But to compensate for extraction, we are going to use a 1:18 brewing ratio instead. So more water means more extraction. And that means that our final water dose will be 270 grams instead of 255. So this is the changes we're going to do tomorrow. How about using the Groove to remove some fines? So I kind of don't want to rely too much on the Groove because I don't really enjoy. Oh, this was a question from YouTube comments by David. I don't want to rely too much on the Groove sifter because a distribution and grind size is, in my opinion, a good thing, and it also kind of wastes a lot of grinds over time. And also another thing is that we're grinding in such a fine range that since all of the grinds are kind of like condensed in a very small range, the fines don't matter that much compared to when we are brewing with a coarse grind size where the fines impact the cup a lot compared to a grind size that is extremely fine that will already have a lot of natural fines. So the distribution might be a bit more towards the fines, but it doesn't have that much of a impact compared to when you are grinding extremely coarse and then get a lot of fines. So waste, and that we're already in such a fine grind size that the fines aren't impacting it that much, and you would be removing a lot of the coffee dose if I started sifting at this point. And hello, Albert, with a lot of O's. Oh. So that is kind of my reasoning to not sift over here with the 25 grind setting, or like the finer grind size that we're using right now. And also, I hate wasting coffee. Like, I should actually just be upgrading my burrs or getting another, like, more consistent grinder, you know? So, yeah. But that's also me just nitpicking. Like, I do have a decent grinder that has a lot of positives to it, and it's been treating me extremely well for a long time. I'm just being super anal about it, you know? So Albert asks, what's your grinder again? I have the Ranchilio Rocky right over here. But yeah, but the thing is, like, it's going on to nearly its 10-year anniversary, like next year. So it has seen a coffee a day or more for a long time, and it might just be time yet again to replace the burrs and give it some TLC internal change. Mm-hmm. Makes sense. Yeah, I was wondering if the distribution of grinds was contributing. Yeah, right now, I don't think it's adding, as in, I'm probably getting too many fines that I shouldn't be brewing with at this grind size. So it's probably a bit more skewed towards fines, but that's kind of what I have to work with. And that's just how I need to tweak my recipes accordingly with the equipment that I have. And I just don't like want to create too much of a process to get a good cup of coffee. So trying to make a good recipe by tweaking other variables is just another challenge to see if I can do. But overall, like, it's not yet again a horrible cup. My hopes are still really high from what I've heard from these beans over here, but we still aren't there yet. We're slowly seeing what doesn't work. Hopefully we get to a range where we see what does work. Yeah, as it cools down, it gets better, in my opinion. So coffee that is kind of not hidden, but has a hard time showcasing its qualities as a really hot beverage, let it cool down a bit and you will really understand if it's under extracted, over extracted, balanced, or if it has any interesting tastes there. Because right now it is showing a bit more of its tastes as I sip it. Hey. Yeah, so Albert, I need to change my birds for sure. And hello, Sasha. Mr. Brew, no biggie. You're here for the tasting. And one thing that I feel like is not talked about too much in the coffee world is like maintaining equipment. So, for example, I've had this grinder for a long time. And from what I remember when I was a barista, we would like consistently change burrs all the time to really keep our grind consistency high and distribution good. But that is also a cafe that is going through so much coffee every single day. So it's like a couple of hundred brews every single day. But I'm really curious as to how many cups of coffee like the average Joe needs to worry about until they need to change their burrs. Because if it's never on their mind to change burrs, then people might have the same grinder for decades, not realizing that the burrs and the blades on the burrs have been dull for a long time, making a worse and worse cup of coffee over time. I think the only way is to really just open it up and compare it to a new burr. But yeah, like, is that the best way? Is there another way? Maybe, I don't know. I'm gonna try adding a dash of water, even though it's a bit drying. I just want to see what happens. Yeah, so it got even worse with the dash of water, meaning this cup is balanced or slightly over extracted, and by adding that dash of water, it just emphasizes those over extracted qualities even more, which is a like indication that it was within that range, you know. So it's always good to keep on tasting and verify what your like preconceptions are and thoughts are on the coffee through your taste buds, because it's easy to make a change to your recipe and think that it's supposed to taste like this or that, and then kind of just like project those tasting qualities onto the cup. But really, like, take a step back, be the third person, and taste subjectively. Try to understand what you're tasting and really hone in on those qualities of under extracted, over extracted, balanced, those sours, those bitters. And yeah, that's like how you get good at coffee, in my opinion. It's not about following techniques and recipes. It's not about new equipment. It's not about the beans that you're using, but it kind of is. But learning about extraction. That's how you get better. Everything is a tool set. Exactly. And you need to know how to use your tools. And like, coffee is so weird. I always think about coffee as like the craft of coffee. You don't need to make it complex, but the more you dive into it, the more complex it gets, because you always want to like one up the cup that you used to have. And like going to a cafe where a cup of coffee just kind of like blows your mind and you have like a really delicious cup of coffee really humbles you and realizes how inadequate your home setup is. And you always then want to improve and get better at brewing at home. So it's like the Pandora's box has been opened, and you just want to make the best cup possible. And that's how you start buying all of the equipment, worrying about water quality, worrying about burrs, worrying about beans, worrying about brewing technique, all the good things that make you kind of crazy and kind of a nerdy coffee person. Albert says, I feel like one of my biggest paradigm shifts was tasting Chad Wang's coffee. That one pour method is weird as hell, but tastes great. I have no idea. Wait, is Chad Wang the dude from Tails Coffee? No. I'm really bad at names and coffee personalities in the coffee scene. But if that's the case, then are you talking about the continuous pour? One pour? Chad Wang. I'll have to look it up. But oh, okay, never mind. Chad Wang is 2017 Brewers Cup champ. Cool. Yeah, I'll look it up and see what's up. Wait, is that the Tetsu Kasuya method? I'm still kind of lost with who Chad Wang is, but I'll Google it and I'll figure it out. So overall, what I am lacking in this cup is sweetness and defined tastes. That is the more that I'm coming to realize as I'm sipping this cup of coffee. It's really balanced and smooth and easy to drink at times, but it just wants something else. I feel like it really wants that unique taste or that sweetness to really shine through. Mm-hmm. So Chad Wang does this thing with a really, really long center pour. Yeah, Albert, I'll have to check it out. I'm always down to like learn new pour over techniques right now because I want to make a huge like comparison of the techniques, but not just on how it's brewed, like the steps, but really understand, for example, what the blooming techniques are, like why people are doing specific things or what type of beans are suited for specific techniques. So learning all of these different pour over techniques recently. So osmotic flow, Tetsu Kasuya, and right now I'm working with the James Hoffmann. I'm really just preparing myself for that video to really have a good understanding of every single variable in the recipe and why they're doing something. So yeah, I'll totally check out that technique and see if it's bringing anything new to the table that I would love to highlight. Okay, that's my cup of coffee for the day. Really nice chatting with all of you. I wish you the best. I hope that you have a stellar day. Make sure to stay hydrated. Make sure to say hello to someone and smile. Okay. I'll see you guys later. Take care. And I will see you guys later too. Have a good one.